Hello and welcome to another episode of Homebrew MTG's Pre-BREWS. And boy, are we spoiled today, quite literally. Wizards of the Coast Hob must have been broken because the rares just keep on coming. We are going to build up to those, but first of all, we are greeting back one of the most infamous creatures in all of Magic's history, the almighty brushwagg. It costs a single forest for a 1/1 trampling creature that has an activated ability of 3 colourless and a forest. Almighty brushwagg gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Bad, but not that terrible. If you have spare mana in the late game, you can pump this a couple times and you can make it a 7/7 instant speed trampler. A bit of a meme over the years. Look at that face. Sorry, that was me being killed by laughing at the brushwagg. Not to be underestimated. Next card is a Spontaneous Flight. 2 colourless and a plains for an instant that allows target creature to get +2/+2 until end of turn. Puts a flying counter on it. That brushwagg is still in the way. Shoo! Go, 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 go! The card that I'm trying to spoil is quite an expensive combat trick, but the flying counter is useful evasion for future attacks and blocks. Our next card is Garrison Cat. 1 plains for a 1/1 cat. When Garrison Cat dies, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. It's essentially a functional reprint of Hunted Witness, a 2/2 for 1 mana when it dies, or it could be sacrifice fodder for any aristocrats themed deck. Hey, oi, it's still there. Shoo! Psh, psh, psh. Next up, we have a Bushmeat Poacher. 3 colourless and a swamp for a 2/4 human soldier. You can pay 1 and tap to sacrifice another creature. You gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Draw a card. Now I know why brushwagg had disappeared. He will be this guy's dinner. It's quite an expensive body, but potentially getting a lot of life and card draw from your biggest creature if it's going to die anyway, then it definitely has the potential to pay back its initial outlay. Our next card is a Farfinder for 3 colourless mana. It gives you a 1/1 fox with vigilance. When Farfinder enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. The colourless mana means that any deck is happy to run this if they need fixing to splash that risky third colour. It's a shame that the land only goes into your hand and not onto the battlefield. Our next card is a Sonorous Howlbonder for 1 colourless and 2 Rakdos hybrid mana. You get a 2/2 human warrior with menace. Each creature you control with menace can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. Black-red seems to have a lot of menacing creatures, so this is a nice little trick, making your opponents have to block with an additional creature. Great. Up next is the first of 3 cards that is in a cycle that dish out keyword counters with an additional activated ability to boost each keyworded creature. This one is a Colorfright Mentor for 2 colourless and a mountain for a 3/2 human. When Colorfright Mentor enters the battlefield, put a menace counter on target non-human creature. Pay 2 red and tap. Put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control with menace. Similar to our next mentor, Dust Mentor costs 2 colourless and a swamp for a 1/3 human. When Dust Mentor enters the battlefield, put a lifelink counter on target non-human creature you control. Pay 1 black and tap to put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control with lifelink. And finally, we have our Keensight Mentor for 2 colourless and 8 plains. We have a 1/4 human. When Keensight Mentor enters the battlefield, puts a vigilant counter on target non-human creature you control. Pay 1 colourless and a plains and tap to put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control with vigilance. These will help focus your card choices in limited and reliably occupy that 3rd drop slot. Our next couple cards you will want to feed into the cycling archetype. For 4 colourless mana and 2 mountains, Sanctuary Smasher is a 6/4 Rhino Beast with First Strike, cycling for 2 colourless and a mountain. When you cycle Sanctuary Smasher, put a First Strike counter on target creature you control. Not many things can match toe-to-toe a 6/4 First Striker without a lot of help from its friends. So if you can get this one down, it will be a absolute house in Limited. This next card really does need to be in the cycling archetype, otherwise it's pretty much a dead card. However, it does scale really well. The more cycling cards you have, the bigger the impact. It reads Zenith Flare for 2 colourless, a mountain and a plains. Zenith Flare deals X damage to any target and you gain X life, where X is a number of cards with a cycling ability in your graveyard. But we'll move quickly on to the real reason why we're here, the nice new shiny gold cards. Here we have 3 new companion creatures in a row. Up first is Zerda the Dawnwaker, 1 colourless and 2 Boros hybrid mana pips for a 3/3 elemental fox. Its deck building limitations for companion are each permanent card in your starting deck has an activated ability. Abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana in that cost to less than 1 mana. Pay 1 and tap to make 1 target creature unable to block this turn. Probably the worst colour pairing in my opinion to have this activated ability, but who doesn't like an extra little bit of help to give yourself infinite mana? My hand is up if you didn't know. Our next companion is Zagantha the Wellspring, 4 colourless and Gruul hybrid mana for a 5/5 legendary elemental elk that says no card in your starting deck has more than one of the same mana symbol in its mana cost. Tap to add a plains, island, a swamp, mountain and a forest mana. This is called Wooborg in many Magic circles. This mana can't be spent to pay generic mana costs. Kind of going against the grain in the set, which encourages more than 3 colours. However, Wizards seem to be determined to print a 5 colour mana legendary creature in every set. With that in mind though, Joda has a brand new shiny steed to ride on to help him cast big splashy humongous spells. Speaking of matches made in heaven, Arabo thinks that Kihiro the Orphan Guard is the cat's whiskers. 1 colourless and 2 Selesnya hybrid mana for a 3/2 legendary cat beast that says each creature in your starting deck has to be a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur or a beast card in order for you to have it as your companion. It also has vigilance and gives each other creature you control that's a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur or beast gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. Probably one of the easiest companions to accommodate if you are already running those highlighted tribes, because to be honest, if your Arabo deck doesn't already have all cats in it, then to be honest, you've been having too much catnip. Our next card is Wizards giving some love to Temur Wedge colours. Song of Creation is an enchantment for 1 colourless, 1 forest, 1 island and 1 mountain that reads, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever you cast a spell, draw 2 cards. At the beginning of your next end step, discard your hand. This could be super effective in go wide Temur strategies. Limited or EDH, dump as many creatures as you can onto the battlefield. In my experience, Morphs works best. Now with your creatures CMC being reduced from the animal counters, keep on drawing and keep casting cheap or free creatures in any given turn. Potentially very high reward for the risky last part of the text box. Now I have just refreshed Mythic Spoiler and this little kitty has just sneaked attacked in before I got onto the next cards that I wanted to talk about. So we have a Necromancer, 1 colourless and a plains and a swamp for a 3/3 Cat Nightmare that has Mutate. Whenever this creature mutates, return target creature with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Fine if you have lots of smaller bodies, but I tend to find that in Limited, the bigger creatures close out games. Our next card is Offsprings Revenge. 2 colourless, a mountain, a plains, and a swamp for an enchantment that goes at the beginning of your combat on your turn. Exile target red, white, or black creature from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 1/1. It gains haste until your next turn. I like that they've included this in this particular wedge, because outside of this set, this would be extremely powerful, given the multiple graveyard strategies in Azban and Sultai colours. This gives Marju some sweet recursion that crucially doesn't make you sack those creatures at the end of your turn. The flavor text is not wrong. Be prepared for a lot of blood on your hands. Our next card is our third and final Planeswalker, found in Ikoria. And truthfully, I think it's my favourite, just because of the multiple format potential. Back in the Jeskai colours, it could be an absolute house in the OG Narset deck, which tend to be full of non-creature spells. And being a Planeswalker, this will be one of the cards that you can use to cast without paying its mana costs. Also fantastic in Storm decks or any non-creatures matters builds, as they will love the ultimate ability if you manage to get enough loyalty counters. Solid card, just like the solid battle poses that you can see on your screen. Congratulations, we have made it through day 6 of spoilers. They're becoming a little bit more infrequent. Usually on the last couple of days we get the final spicy pieces of the jigsaw, but for now it takes us to my terrific card of the day. So much was my excitement for this cycle finally being finished. I don't think even if I was given an ultimatum, I still wouldn't be able to choose my favourite. Yeah, that's right, the ultimatums are coming back, and they are all atomic bombs. All of these cards in this cycle cost 7 mana, with the core colour costing 3 and the auxiliary colours costing 2 each. So first up we have Emergent Ultimatum. 2 swamps, 3 forests and 2 islands for a sorcery that allows you to search your library for up to 3 mono-coloured cards with different names and exile them. An opponent chooses one of those cards, shuffle that card into your library. You may cast the other cards without paying their mana costs. Exile Emergent Ultimatum. This allows your opponent to make the unenviable choice of choosing between, if you've picked right your best 3 cards in the deck, then they pick one of those cards and that goes back into your library, doesn't exile, doesn't get sacrificed, and then you get to play the other 2 cards. 2 out of 3 best cards in your deck being played. That is a recipe for disaster. Next up we have Erie Ultimatum. 2 plains, 3 swamps and 2 forests for a sorcery. Return any number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this includes lands, and because Commander is a singleton format, you are getting back your entire graveyard. It's stupid. Your strategy to make this its most effective is to fill your graveyard, tutor or draw the spell, and hey presto, they all come back at once. And if you're not happy doing either of those effects, I give you Ruinous Ultimatum. 2 mountains, 3 plains and 2 swamps for a sorcery that destroys all non-land permanents your opponents control. If your opponent can swing the tide after being inflicted with this card, then congratulations, they deserve it, to be honest. Everything but lands go poof. Sweet dreams. So once again, that's it for now. If you like this video, please like, subscribe and share, and put your thoughts about any of the cards or even anything Magic the Gathering related in the comments below. See you soon. Cheers. Wah.